Yeah. Who else has been to a taster, London Met computing taster? Anyone? Alright. So thanks for asking me to come along and talk to you today about, specifically about the WOW agency, which is something I'll talk about, which I set up at London Met, and a little bit about employability and the importance of employability skills and why we've set this initiative up at London Met, and why it's very exciting times at the moment for WOW, because which I'll tell you about later. So my name's Alan Stewart. I joined London Met University about 5 years ago, and I was running my own businesses before that. And someone asked me to go in and look after a couple of small projects for external clients. I'd never worked in a university before. And so I did that, and while I was there, it just so happened that I was getting lots of people calling up and saying, can we have students? We'd really like to borrow, I don't know why they say borrow, but borrow a couple of your students to do some work for us. Now, some of the inquiries were genuine in that they really wanted to take students on and give them some good experience, relevant experience. Also, there were kind of typical inquiries where you would find out that all the student did was sort of make tea and coffee for a couple of weeks and not really learn anything. So, which is not in anyone's interest, really. So while I was there, it struck me that there was a real gap for setting something up that actually was beneficial to students and beneficial to businesses. So basically, it's just matching up the skills and expertise that students have, that you have, which is very raw, and it's very exciting. You're willing to take a few risks. It's matching that up with businesses and companies who actually really want to tap into that. And my argument for it was that if I was running my business and I had to develop some new online application or piece of software, algorithm, whatever, what would I rather do? Would I rather go to an agency that's been around for 20 or 30 years that I know would just churn out the same template? All they're really interested in would be, this is a client, let's get the work done, let's invoice them, and then move on. Or would I rather tap into that breakthrough thinking? Students who want to do something really innovative and very creative. It might not have 10 or 20 years experience behind it, but it might just be something very new. And that, for me, as a business owner, would be much more interesting. It's a bit of a risk, but I think it's very exciting. So that's why I decided to start up the WOW agency, which has been in London Met for about 3.5 years now, and it's currently only at London Met, within the School of Computing, but also I tap into students from Business and Marketing School as well. So it's very simple. It's taking students who are referred through to me by their lecturers and placing them into real client-driven projects at a low cost to business. And what it means is that students get fantastic experience working on real projects. They're getting paid an hourly rate, which is currently about £10 to £12 an hour. And for businesses, they're able to tap into those students coming through who are showing really good skills and a really good professional approach and a bit of innovation and a bit of hunger. Because I'm sure maybe lots of people stood here in front of you this last week or how long this has been going on, I'm sure it's emphasized to you, and I can't stress the point more. There is nothing more important for employers right now than experience. It's the bottom line. That is what they are looking for. Above and beyond your technical degree and your qualifications. Because the marketplace has shifted. Jobs are not in the big IT companies, the IBMs, etc. anymore. Jobs are in small businesses, SMEs, small medium enterprises, and startups. That's where up to 90% of the jobs are now, especially in London. And it's a different set of skills. And they're not looking for someone who's got no experience, who will come on their first day and sit there, and then at 5 o'clock turn around and say, what do you want me to do? You won't last a week. What they're looking for are these soft, transferable, professional, employability skills, whatever you want to call them, embedded in you and in you as you're starting the work, because they can't afford to spend time looking over your shoulder, checking what you're doing, because it's much more streamlined, and they want you to be ready to hit the ground running first day. That's just how it is. But it's very exciting, because it allows you to develop a character through employability skills. People like characters. So, anyway, with the WOW agency, we've got, within the School of Computing, there's a wide range of different skills that we can tap into, from web, some graphic design and branding, although I tap into more digital media students for that, business systems design, communication technology, so networking, and database, etc., data mining, and even mathematics and stats. And because a lot of the projects we do are web applications, there's no point just having a website and giving it back to the client. They won't know what to do with it. So what we do is we give some support through the marketing and PR students to develop strategies for them. And all of these projects we charge, and the students get paid. Yeah? So actually we've done over 130 projects so far. We've done well over 25,000 hours. That's student paid hours. And the range of clients is from small startups, like one man setting up a roofing business in Kent who wants a small website, or a little phone app developed, all the way up to large organizations like News International. We've done some data mining and data warehousing with their stuff, the Sunday Times and Times Online. We do all of the usability testing for Comic Relief, which is a big contract for us, because if that falls, then there's no money donated. So it's a responsibility, but we do all of the stuff on the donation pages and the web pages for them. And lots of businesses in between. So SMEs, small medium enterprises, social enterprise. Do you know what a social enterprise is? No? Social enterprise is, it's a growing sector. There are thousands, literally thousands of social enterprises starting up. It's basically, you have a charity, which is not-for-profit. You have businesses or limited companies or private companies which are for-profit. Social enterprises are profitable, but within their constitution, a guaranteed percentage of the profits have to go back into supporting the social aim that they're set up to support. So they can make a profit, but it's to support the social aim. So they're forward-thinking businesses. I'll just run through very briefly some of the previous clients. We've done lots of different things. We did all the stuff for Thames Gateway when they kind of changed all their web stuff. We do for other institutions, this Institute of Education, we did 4 or 5 projects for them. That was a very complex, like online, database-heavy kind of application that was pulling up lots of research support for their academics. This is a small digital book publisher, actually based around Shoreditch. The design of that had to be very, very slick. This is for students, maybe some of the lecturers, if you're here, might know this person. This is a guy called Peter Gabriel, who's a very famous rock artist. He actually invests millions into technology, as well as being a very famous musician. He was with a band called Genesis years ago. And basically, he's got his own technical team of about 35, 40 people. And he invested in what's a prototype to develop something that was actually inspired to him by the death of his father. What he wanted to do was create something where people could create an online memory. So that might be for someone, a family, whatever, or it might be that you go to a gig and you take pictures, you tweet about it, you Facebook it, you pull stuff from Flickr, So it's to basically create an online capsule where everyone can contribute to it and it gets locked away, and then you can go back and visit it and share it, etc. So it's quite an interesting idea when it was first proposed to us. Anyway, his technical team couldn't do it. So the guy who was given the job of managing that, actually, I pitched to him about a different project about 6 months, 8 months before this, and he was on the board of this social enterprise called My Bank, and we didn't get that project, but he liked what we did. So he called me up one Thursday evening and said, Alan, would you be interested in doing this project? And I said, oh, I just said yes anyway. Sent me the details. He sent me the details the following day. I had a look at it. Very complex project, technically very, difficult to aggregate content in from Facebook, from Twitter, dealing with all the APIs in real time on selected tagging, pulling in information from Flickr on selected tags, compiling it into one capsule, if you like, and then be able to share that. It's actually quite complex, especially with Twitter API changing all the time. I don't know if anyone deals with that. Anyway, I said yes, and then panicked, and then I put a team together, which was a mix of a couple of academics and then 4 or 5 students, who I selected specifically for the skills. And it was like a £40,000 project, and we delivered it. We delivered the prototype for it, where his technical team, who had had 10 years experience, couldn't do it. But we were just hungry for it, and the students didn't let go of it. So that was an interesting project. And maybe just as an aside, when we were pulling in, this is what just a screenshot of one of the demos that we did. And we were pulling in Twitter in real time. And we thought it would be fun when we presented this to Peter Gabriel and his team, that we pulled in real time all of the tweets that were coming through about Peter Gabriel, the client, who just released an album. And we thought that would be really nice. Unfortunately, the screenshot we took at that time has a tweet which says, Peter Gabriel's most recent album is the most depressing music ever. What possessed him? Nothing, it's just like an experiment, but it's so wrong. So, that just goes to show you that if you pull in tweets in real time, you might just pick the wrong one at the wrong time. We do a lot of stuff with social enterprise. This is like World Development Movement. We did some banners and some web stuff for them. We do animation stuff for EMI Records. We do a lot of stuff, like web stuff for SME organizations and networks, which is great for us because that brings in more clients. And then Comic Relief. We did all of the usability testing for Sport Relief last year and then Comic Relief this year. So we get very much involved in that. And then we do stuff for the university. Web refreshes, database builds, etc. I've picked up 3 things that are currently within the kind of mandate for London Met, but it's probably the same for most universities and colleges. This is what universities want to do for their students. And these are quotes from students who work on this. This is a quote from a business not far from here in Curtin Road that we do a lot of work with. And I've given them now 7 graduates into their workplace. And the graduates that I've given them form the core of their development team. And they're doing some fantastic stuff. And earning good money. And then another quote from a student. I'm not really sure about fast car or luxury lifestyle yet, but they do get paid a lot. And some students who have gone through all WOW projects and worked on a number of WOW projects for me because they're really good, because they have a good attitude, they've effectively paid for the tuition fees, or would have paid for the tuition fees with the extra money they're making. So that on the WOW agency, they do these projects above and beyond the studies. So a project comes in, I scope it out, I assess the technical skills it needs, then I'll look at the team that are around, I'll go to the academics and I'll say, what students have you got with these skills that are showing really good grades and a good approach to the class? Maybe great PHP students or whatever, or HTML, or whatever. And we'll work out the time that they have available above and beyond the studies and class commitments, because that's obviously the most important thing. And then we'll match that with the client's deadline, and if it works, then we kick the project off. So, that's the WOW agency. So it's skills relevant, it's paid to the students, and for businesses it allows them to tap into that expertise, a quite high level of expertise, tap into the university, or it could be the college, and it's an opportunity for them to look at people who they will in future employ. 90% of the students who come through WOW have gone on to either work for the clients that we've worked with, or the skills they've learned and put on their CV have enabled them to get into a job. 90% is pretty high. So, to support that, and to address this need that I said earlier, that students need to evidence some kind of real experience. I can't stress it enough, and I'll probably say it until you're bored. That's what it is. So how do we get more projects in? So what we've done at London Met and within the School of Computing is we've set up a module called a work-related learning module, which is slightly different than a placement. And I've set up something called WowBiz, which acts like an employer in the university or in that school. So basically I manage it like it's a real company. And students can then apply for a whole list of projects that I've brought in from charities and social enterprises. Those people who don't have the finances to put a project through the WOW agency but still need something done. So it allows us to get those free projects in, and a lot of free projects, and also I can create projects. So I can think of, okay, let's develop an app for the nearest laundrette or the nearest pub that sells a special beer, or let's develop a piece of software that supports an e-commerce platform that we're trying to build on the WOW agency. So we can kind of create. So it acts like its own kind of IT software development house within the university, but we bring in free projects and more students get the opportunity to work on these. And it's based on two very simple facts, which still stands. Startups, SMEs, social enterprises all require some kind of IT solution at some point in their growth. And ideally, either free or at low cost. That's just a fact. Second fact, students, and this is recognized at all levels, up to government. Students need to evidence real experience when they leave either college or university to have a real chance of gaining employment. So, WowBiz effectively acts as like a brokerage, or WOW and WowBiz are actually a brokerage. So the students gain the experience working on the projects, and they gain these credits on this work-related learning module. And for businesses, we can do small, medium-sized projects for them for free, and then they gain access to the kind of, the new talent coming through. And I say to all of the students who are working on these projects, in 2 years' time, that person who you did this small project for now might be looking for someone. And they might turn around and say, that student that we had to do that project, why did we get them in? Because it was great. They fitted in with the workplace well, we got on well, they know the company, they know how it works. Let's just go straight to them. So students are always encouraged to think, if I'm working on a project, this could be the person who gives me employment. Why are we doing this? Because of things like this. Nearly 2/3 of employers say that they won't really entertain students to an interview stage if they can't demonstrate real experience on the CV. 2/3, and that's a lot. And that's even, that's focused even more when you consider the competitiveness of going for employment. But luckily in IT, in kind of computer-related sector, the job market is actually very good. It actually does show a kind of a projected and sustained growth because of the requirements of companies to embed IT and computer-related solutions into their business. So it's a good sector to be in, but it's still very tough. Employers are generally satisfied with graduate employability skills, but there's clearly room for improvement. And again, this is recognised at all different levels, and certainly with universities, and certainly at government level as well, that there's a need to develop more, more opportunities for students to learn employability skills while they're actually learning, not just like you graduate and then you drop off the cliff. So, just to give you, and this is particularly relevant to where you are location-wise as well, with businesses, that social enterprise accounts for over 100,000 jobs and a turnover of 4 billion. They are, starting all the time, and there are some great social enterprise networks around, and all of them need things done. And then you've got small businesses or startups and SMEs accounting for 99% of all enterprises in the UK. London's got nearly 7.75 million enterprises. And of course, around here where you are, you're surrounded by tech startups and a lot of focus, a lot of new tech startups, coming in. I mean, not all of them succeed by any stretch of the imagination. But there's a fantastic energy here at the moment. Google Campus just around the corner. There's a lot of focus and there's a lot of investment coming in, which encourages people to start up businesses. And that's where the jobs are. Not in Hewlett-Packard or IBM or some massive insurance company. They just don't have those kind of graduate programs anymore. So, this is, I think, it's the Institute Directors or CBI definition of what employability is. There are many, but this is their definition. Set of attributes, skills and knowledge that all labour market participants should possess to ensure they have the capability of being effective in the workplace. The benefit of themselves, their employer, and the wider economy. It's a bit bland, a bit dull. We kind of know what employability is, don't we? You think we do? What do you think self-management is? I hear lots of shuffling around the seats.
Managing yourself.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's I like your thinking. Yeah. I mean, expand on that a little bit. What is it?
Well, it's just managing your attributes, for instance, coordinate yourself, as in be scheduled. For instance, your everyday life, you know what to do. You manage yourself, as in you go to work at a specific time, finish work at a specific time. You have lunch at a specific time, so on and so on. And your attributes yourself, you learn and educate yourself with, which just proves how well you manage yourself as a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's getting out of bed, it's making sure you're getting to places on time, managing your own tasks and priorities. In the workplace, it's like not having to sit there and wait for someone to tell you what to do. I'll give you an example of that. Actually, the company in Curtin Road I was telling you about earlier, when they first contacted us, what they wanted was 2 PHP developers to work on a new platform that they're developing. So I said, okay, I'll see what I can do. So I got 2 PHP developers who were recommended for their great, fantastic students, very clever, very clever. And I said, we're going to go down, and they're looking for a couple of students to work, a bit freelance, you'll get paid through the WOW agency, etc. Might be 15, 20 hours a week. Great experience for you. So I took them down. As soon as we got there, one of them turned to me and said, I'm not ready for this. And he kind of bottled out, which was fine. And I said, well, okay, we'll have a chat about that later. The other one everyone sat there and he listened to the introduction by the director of the company about what they do, the platform they're building, and you know, the kind of things they're looking for. And he turned around and he asked the question, every day, can you give me a list of things every day that you want me to do? And as soon as he said that, I looked over at Ben, who's the director, and I just saw his face drop. Because that was it, he wasn't going to get that job. Because I knew that the director doesn't have the time to sit down and think, okay, what am I going to give him today? Because what the director's expecting is what he did yesterday, he should then know what he has to do today. Manage his own workload, manage his own tasks. What about communication? Why is that important? What kind of communication are we talking about here? Yep.
I feel like ideas and making sure that you're getting what they actually want and not getting anything wrong.
So communicating ideas. Yep, that's good. Anything else?
Teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork. Communication is obviously important in teamwork. It's a slightly different skill, but yeah, very, very important. Anything else?
Have good, you know, vocabulary and good English and everything, and be able to communicate on like people's levels, you know. And if we're talking about teams, then again, like for instance, people have different levels. You need to communicate on their level, whether it be lower or higher.
Absolutely.
It's something they'll be able to understand.
Yeah. Very, very good point. And the first point you mentioned about literacy skills, that's a big concern with employers, is literacy. There's a National Union of Students and CBI report that came out last year, and one of the top things that employers worry about is literacy. The communication is like all different forms. So it's how do you do your emails? How do you communicate to the director of the company, and at the same time communicate to someone who you need to get some photocopying done? So it's actually being able to have interpersonal skills. Yeah? Communicate with clients. Again, like I said, most of the jobs now are in small businesses where you might have a company that's got 10 employees. SMEs, by the way, are 250 employees or less. The majority of those are under 250, and many of those are going to be under 50. And a lot of those, especially around here, are companies with 10 to 15 employees. Now they'll have worked together for a while, they'll know each other inside out. They'll know how to make the boss's coffee, they'll know what kind of music he likes or she likes on a Thursday afternoon. All of these kind of things. So communication is being able to integrate yourself into that kind of environment and not shrivel away in a corner. And if you go and expect to just, I know people don't clock in now, but if you go and sign into your work at 8:30 in the morning and think that you can just go and hide in a corner and code, and then at 6 o'clock sneak out, I guarantee you will not last a week, because you just won't fit in, and you know, it will be a situation where we can't ask them to do anything because they're just stuck in a corner. So communication is like very much about interpersonal things, and like you said, you know, be able to communicate ideas. Very soon in a job, you may be asked to communicate your idea about the next stage of development of something. Or the director or the owner of the company may have to go to Paris for a weekend or a week or something for a conference, and he says to you, our major client's coming in, he's got a new spec or an idea, I want you to sit down, understand it, ask the right questions, and then disseminate that back to the team. That's all about communication. Teamworking, that's ultimately very, very important. Anything you're involved in now probably involves working in a team. And one of the things that we do with WowBiz is all of the projects, bar 1 or 2, involve a team of people, because that's, I think from the students that have been through this first semester of it, I think that's the thing where they've benefited most, is working in a team, because actually they don't really get the opportunity to do that. And all the dynamics that happen